Hi everyone, welcome to the shack for this weekend update. As you can see, the weather, as has been the case for the past 2 or 3 days, isn't very good. It's still quite windy, and the more eagle-eyed amongst you might notice that there's an antenna missing. My end-fed wire for top band and 80 meters didn't survive the very high winds from 2 nights ago. Sort of laid in bed, listening to a lot of crashing and banging going on. I think it was Wednesday. Was it Wednesday night? I think maybe Thursday night. Anyway, opened the bedroom curtains in the morning, and one of the supporting poles for my end-fed wire at the bottom of the garden had basically collapsed and had fallen back into, well, it's sort of woodland, whatever you want to call it, behind the bottom of my garden, and in doing so, snapped the wire, and then in retrieving that support pole, I snapped the wire again because it got caught, as you can imagine. So I ended up having to then take down the other support pole in the right-hand corner at the bottom of the garden. In fact, the only pole that is still standing is the one that's attached to the back of the house. And I was going to actually go outside and show you that, but it's literally just started raining. So, although it looks like it might have stopped already. But anyway, so, which is a bit of a pain really, because that means that I no longer have an antenna that's usable on top band at home, at my home QTH. But from every, I was about to say disaster. It's not really a disaster, is it? It's all relative. I'm going to take this opportunity to actually put the antenna back up, but do it better, with some improvements. And the first improvement is that I'm going to increase the height of it. You can just see down there, I've bought a couple of 10-foot, 3.3 meter tubes from Tool Station, and so that's going to increase the height of this antenna by another 3 meters. And obviously, you know, there's not really any there's no better way really of improving an antenna other than obviously length, than more metal in the air. So it's going to be higher. The other change is that rather than run across the garden and then rut the garden and kind of then finish at the back of the house and then come down into the shack, I've got a plan actually to run this antenna above the house to the front to the front corner. So, but what I would like, at the moment the antenna's it's quarter wave for top band, it's half wave for 80 meters minus sort of velocity factor. So what I would like to achieve is something approaching, well, half wave really for top band, and obviously, so basically a longer antenna that's higher up in the air. Now, as one of my club members said to me on the Friday night sked, the only risk really with running it over the house is, or the possible risk is that it might pick up noise, and that's certainly a possibility. But I think I'm prepared to accept that risk and give it a go. So I've got a step ladder. I've got the extra poles. The poles actually supporting it, particularly the one that collapsed, are perfectly fine. There's no issue there. But what I've also got are I've got insulators actually, as you're supposed to use, and I've not really bothered with them. As some of you guys will remember, my antennas, sort of, to a certain extent, are a bit of a lash up really, sort of Heath Robinson affair. But I'm going to do it properly this time. Support the antenna wire with via an insulator with cord. And just see what improvement I get. And as I said, I'm hoping to have an antenna that's basically half wave for top band, and see what kind of level of improvement I get. So so there you go. So that's my end-fed wire, which at the moment is kaput. But I've got all the parts basically to rebuild it, make it better. My Diamond X300 Collinear survived the weather, no problem at all, and there it is. As did my G5RV, which has been standing here for a lot longer than my end-fed wire. That's been up now about a year, and so that survived no problem at all. One of the poles slipped a bit, but other than that, the G5RV is standing. And what I'm actually doing this weekend, well, I actually started the night before last, was just to I just want to test the G5RV, because my end-fed wire has been basically, in terms of receive, and I'm probably in terms of transmit, has been blowing away my G5RV in terms of performance. That's my feeling. There's actually quite a lot of activity on 80 this morning, actually. But anyway, so what I've done basically, so I've matched the, I've plugged the G5RV in to the MFJ 949E, and I've matched it, and I did a little test actually a couple of nights ago, and I worked a station, Jerry, Papa Hotel 9 Hotel Bravo in Eindhoven, and he was copying me sort of 5.7, 5.8. He was about plus S9 plus 5 with me. So it does work. As I said, I have a feeling that that it doesn't work anywhere near as well as my end-fed wire. I don't really know whether that's because my end-fed wire is so brilliant or not, or whether the G5RV is, to a certain extent, is a bit of a compromise anyway, particularly on 80 meters. Yeah, it's interesting. I have done direct back-to-back comparisons, so to be left with the G5RV does sort of feel a little bit like, the station isn't quite so effective. The end-fed wire has been a sort of labour of love really since it was first suggested to me, the concept, by Jeff, Mike 0 Uniform Hotel Fox, and Tim, Mike 0 Kilo Echo Papa, and these are the two guys that kind of inspired me to throw a wire up and see if you can make something work on top band, which I kind of did, and then of course I added an RF earth, and then obviously about 30 radials over a sort of period of time, and so the end-fed wire really is the staple antenna for my HF activities at my home QTH, and I've got a similar setup but inferior, but a similar kind of concept for my kind of portable antenna in Abingdon. So I'll look forward to hopefully some point next week putting that antenna back up in the new configuration, but in the meantime hoping that I can work a few stations at least on the G5RV. I'll tell you, since I did the firmware upgrade on this radio, using the multi-knob as the 1 kilohertz tuning step is so useful. There's lots of changes, lots of improvements with the version 1.40. I think this is my favourite one to date, with the spectrum scrolling.
From down there, Frank and bringing them back to the island for a housing estate, but that's many years ago. My daughter lives in Clumpton, Frank, over. Oh yeah.
So there you go. The other thing that's happening this weekend is there was an inaugural 2-meter Simplex net run by Harwell, and that was last Saturday, and I participated. I was actually using a coaxial collinear built by G1 ZMA. I put my antenna analyzer on that antenna in the morning, and the match was very good. It was 1 point something to 1. And then I was using it in Abingdon, and when Tim, Mike 0 Kilo Echo Papa, called me, he's just not even the other side of Abingdon. He was plus 60, sort of plus with me on his antenna, and I was only plus 20, which didn't make any sense because I was using 50 watts, and I should have been booming into him, and I wasn't, and I was sort of struggling, not with the guys in South Oxfordshire, but I was struggling to hear anybody in West Oxfordshire. And so halfway through the net, I took it all down and took the antenna apart and couldn't find anything wrong with it. And then I put it back together. And then at the end of the net, I took it down again and took it apart and found a dry solder joint. I put my analyzer on it, and I'd been using it with a match of about, well, it was reading 9 to 1 in the shack. What it was on top of the pole, I don't know, but obviously not very good. Interestingly, the 991 Yaesu didn't complain about high SWR at all, but I was using the S meter, not the SWR meter, but it didn't complain. So I'm talking to some of the guys, they think it's probably got some kind of protection circuitry. My signal was getting out, but yeah, it wasn't as strong as it should be. In the end, and then anyway, so the next day we have another net with GB3 Delta India, GB3 DI repeater, which is also run by Harwell. And for that sked, I replaced the coaxial collinear with a little loaded collinear designed to be mounted on a mag mount to be used on a vehicle. The total length of it, physical length, is about 12 inches. And so not ideal to strap to a pole and crank up into the air. But my signal with Tim in Abingdon with that little antenna was plus 50. So I was 30 dB stronger with a little 12-inch antenna on a pole than I was with a proper half wave coaxial collinear. And what, 30 dBs, so it's 1,000 times stronger. And that worked very, very well indeed. Anyway, in the meantime, the coaxial collinear has been repaired, and so this afternoon Saturday afternoon, we have a 2-meter Simplex net on 145.4125 on FM, and because it's felt that the DI net, so the repeater net on a Sunday, was kind of was proposed as a means to keep that repeater, to get some activity on it, which is great. I can't open it from my home QTH. I can open it from Abingdon, no problem at all. Some of the members can open it, no problem, from their home QTHs, others can't. So it is a bit of a pain getting everybody involved. So, and that was one of the reasons why we decided to continue with the repeater net, as I said, to give that repeater sort of some service, but run a Simplex net as well on FM to make it as inclusive as possible, because as some of you guys will know, most radios, well, you can't buy a cheap radio that operates on VHF, UHF with SSB. Things like the Baofeng handheld 2.70 meter transceivers are FM only. So we decided to go with FM to make it as inclusive as possible, particularly to sort of newer members. So so that's happening this weekend. This weekend is my turn to be net controller, which is fine. So as that we don't have to sort of commit to doing this every week. We're making the net controller position sort of on a kind of rotational basis. So last week it was Tim, this week it's me, next week it might be somebody else, and then probably rotate 4 controllers, so as that you only have to commit to actually being on the net once a month. So this is the radio I'll be using, and the Diamond X300, which miraculously started working again a week or so ago, unless I completely screwed up several months ago and didn't actually have it plugged into the radio when I was trying to use it, is the antenna I'll be using. And yeah, what's interesting is that although I'm much further away at my home QTH, people like Tim and Jeff are booming in sort of 40 over S9 on using that antenna, which isn't actually very high above the ground. The bottom of the antenna is probably only 4 or 5 meters above the ground. The tip of the antenna's, about sort of 7 meters above the ground. But can't open DI with it, GB3 DI from here. At least I wasn't able to. You can see it's moving around because it's still quite windy. But I can hear those guys, no problem at all. So there you go. So that's something else this weekend. And then the other thing, of course, is that, as you guys know, I've been testing the Belka DX, and I'm not going to say much more on that because I've said a lot already, but what a fantastic little radio. When the travel restrictions are lifted, I will take this radio with me on my next trip for sure. It's so small that actually there's no bother really taking this radio and my usual travel radio, which at the moment is the brilliant Texan PL 880. So I'll probably take them both, and depending on how much time I have, I can do a sort of comparison while I'm there. So there you go. Anyway, that's it from me, from the shack. I wish you all good DX. Have a great weekend. Keep safe, everybody, and don't forget to drop some comments through on the channel. Always great to hear from you all. I still do my best to reply to every comment. It's becoming more difficult, obviously, with more subscribers, and one day there's going to come a point where I simply can't answer all of the comments. I've been answering every comment for 5 or 6 years, and I will endeavour to continue to do that. But at some point, it's just going to become too much, and I'm not going to be able to do it. And at the moment, I'm able to do it, but there may come a time when I can't. It doesn't mean that I don't care and that I don't read your comments and don't appreciate them, because I do very much. But you've only got to think about people like Gilles, SWL official. He can't. I mean, he's got 5 times as many subscribers as me, so it'd be impossible. It takes quite a long time to work through the comments. And I sort of feel bad about even suggesting not replying to people, because that's what I like to do. But obviously, the more subscribers, the more comments, the longer it takes. And obviously, I've got other things in my life that I have to sort of deal with, work and the family, etc. So, but at the moment, I'm still doing it. So let's see how long I can continue. Anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for watching. Keep safe, and 7-3.